What is going on, everybody? It's Tuesday night. Time to talk some football. You guys know me. I'm SAJ, coming to you live from the Service Merchandise Studios on Walsham Road.
What's up, everybody?
Hey, it's Milton Hope from the TG&Y Studios.
Hey, what's up, Mil? Hey, everybody, it's BD coming at you from the now officially closed Grady's Barbecue Studios. I mean, it took them. They were holding on for probably 10 years longer than
As you can tell, I was not a fan, but I am a fan of this guy right over here. You may not recognize the name, but you're definitely going to recognize the voice. It is my distinct privilege and honor to introduce to you the face behind the voice of your UTSA Roadrunners, Mr. Milton Hope.
Well, when you take a look at this voice right here, or this face, this is why I'm the voice. I'm the PA announcer. I'm not on TV. No way. Hello, everybody. How y'all doing today?
I also
thanks for joining us, Milton, man. It's great to have you on here.
Yes.
Oh, it's good to be here.
And I definitely also want to shout a few more of your accolades. You are also the voice of the Judson Rockets, of the Wagner Thunderbirds, and of the Veterans Memorial. What are they? The Warriors?
Patriots.
Yeah. In addition to all things UTSA sports and having a 30-plus year career in broadcasting, as I was just informed recently. So very impressed and very just humbled and grateful that you would join our show tonight.
They've let me hang around. So until they tell me to go away, I'm going to keep showing up and announcing something.
Yes. Now, let me ask you this, Milton. I've heard tale that your voice has been heard around the world. Is that true?
It has. During the first Gulf War, I was in Saudi Arabia. I was part of the military, Armed Forces Radio and Television. So I did a little bit of television while I was there, but mostly I switched over to radio. And French TV did something on me. Japanese TV did something on me. So I was broadcasting. I was the overnight guy, so we like to party. I went on at 10 in the morning. I went off at 6 in the morning. Or I went on 10 at night to 6 in the morning. And we rocked the airwaves there in Saudi Arabia, just having a good time.
That's a hell of a shift right there, man.
It was.
Yep. Well, definitely. Thank you for your service, Milton. Cannot thank you enough for that.
Thank you.
One of the reasons why I specifically wanted to bring you in is because of all of your connections with all things high school football, because high school football is like a religion here in Texas.
It's king, baby.
And your connection with college sports, specifically college football.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, because high school training camps, college training camps have kicked off. We are in full swing, getting ready for the season to start very, very soon. Talk to me about some of the things that you've seen, or some of the things that we need to keep our eye on in, let's start with 6A ball. Who are some of the powerhouses you're seeing? Who are some of the people who were powerhouses last year that have kind of fallen down, and what can we expect from this season?
Well, I think one of the things we really need to keep an eye on, again, is those powerful Brennan Bears. They have really come on in the past couple of years with a great coaching staff and great players. And, it's kind of like the old Judson mantra. They reload, and it's just one of those things where Brennan is going to be able to stay on pace maybe for a few years with what they got. A couple of other local ones, the Poth Pirates, even though it's a smaller scale, they've been to the state championship game 2 years in a row. Lost in the games 2 years in a row, but they keep going up there. The Bernie Greyhounds and Bernie Champion. I don't have any idea what they're feeding those kids up in the booming metropolis of Bernie. But every sports team they have in Bernie, boys and girls, just absolutely dominate South and Central Texas. So Champion the Greyhounds lost in the 4A state championship last year. So, Judson got an up-and-coming quarterback, so I'm expecting big things from Judson this year. So, Rocket Pride, man. So, I'm expecting a lot of good things from them. Steele, you can never, ever count out Steele. We always used to say that this district of Judson, Steele, East Central, Smithson Valley was one of the most powerful districts in the state. Now they've kind of broken up a little bit, because of enrollment. Some go to 5A, some go to 6A. Sometimes they just realign the districts and you're playing different people. But, Bernie, Brennan, Judson, you got to watch out for them. New Braunfels, an up and comer. So those are some of the ones to watch out for.
Very nice. Now, switching over to 5A, and this one, kind of pertains to me a little bit. My kids aren't quite there yet, but, we do have Piper, who just recently opened up. So I'm going to be a little bit, biased and invested in them. What are you seeing on the 5A scene? Are you seeing pretty much kind of the same thing, same normal powerhouses, or what's going on there?
I think so. Wagner is kind of rebuilding. They have other than their head coach, they have pretty much a all new coaching staff. Davenport is going to be an up and coming team along with Piper. Harlan, I think, is 5A, and they, along with the Veterans Memorial, were one of the fastest teams to make it to a playoff win in the region's history. So Veterans Memorial going to be up and coming. They got a fantastic head coach over there, Bobby Irvin. The coaching staff is on board. They follow a lot of the same things that Judson has done over the years, kind of trickles down, but they work their own stuff in as well. And it's a great atmosphere over there at the Patriots campus. I get to do the freshman and JV games. We don't announce them really, but I run the scoreboard and I'm around them, and it's just an electric atmosphere over there.
Very, very nice. Now, again, like I said, I'm a little bit biased. I'm going to be pulling for Piper High School because, my kids are going to be going to Piper eventually.
Sure.
And hopefully by then, maybe they'll be making some noise in the Comal ISD school district. But this school district is just growing like crazy. So there's going to be a lot of interesting things coming from this district as people start migrating out, towards the north and everything, and getting away from the city.
There's a lot of crazy things happening up in that Comal area because you've got Smithson Valley, you've got New Braunfels Canyon, you've got Piper, Davenport, I think, is in Comal School District. Yep. So there's a lot of things coming up just north of San Antonio. It's going to be very exciting in football, basketball, all the sports.
Yeah, and the nice thing for me is that they're, as these schools are coming up, they're going to start challenging some of the old guard, right?
Oh, sure.
Some of the original, Harlandales and things like that.
Yeah.
And really kind of resetting what the map looks like for high school football here in San Antonio.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a boundary line. I'm not sure where that boundary line is right now, but you've got the north side schools and you've got the south side schools. The south side schools have always had a hard time competing with Brennan and Brandeis and Judson and Roosevelt, MacArthur, stuff like that. Now, some of them have really come on and pulled some upset over the years, but you can definitely see the difference between those teams located, let's say, south of the Alamo Dome, and then those that are north of the Alamo Dome. Size, speed, strength. So, but you can never count out one of those teams from the Harlandale School District, Southside School District. They play great ball over there, and they've got fantastic support from their fans.
Very nice, very nice.
My son, he's starting as a freshman at Steele, so obviously I'm kind of rooting for them because of him. But my alma mater, Madison, how do you think we're going to do this year?
Yeah, so you guys have said it, so I don't need to say anything.
Yeah.
So it's funny about Madison because when I first got into the announcing, 92, 93, 95, 96, Madison was on the forefront with the Judsons and the Churchills and the Steels and stuff like that, and always had some great games away and at home. They pulled out a last-second victory against Judson in the end zone on a last-second pass. They were always a formidable opponent for everybody they played. A few years ago, they made some coaching changes, didn't work out so much for them, and they kind of went down the drain a little bit. Now, you can never count them out. They've got great leadership over there. They always have the athletes that are there. It's just a matter of putting those pieces together and getting back to not dominating, but competing very highly like they used to.
Yeah, that was always way it seemed what we were is, I figure how I'm an Aggie fan as well. So it was always the same. Like you'd get a couple really good wins, in the year and you look promising, but kind of at the end of the year, it just falters and I'm just left disappointed.
Yeah, and the thing about, and my alma mater is Roosevelt, so I went to Roosevelt, but I worked for Judson,
Hey,
and so we got Roosevelt Madison, Roosevelt Judson, and a lot of people know each other in the community between Judson and Roosevelt. So it was always that butting of heads and neighborhood rivalry, so to speak. Matter of fact, the neighborhood that I live in. I live just behind Windcrest, not in Windcrest because I don't got that money, but I live behind Windcrest. That's where they prefer I live. And so, but the front part of my subdivision, like the first 4 streets, Northeast School District, so they go to Roosevelt. The 5th Street back is Judson School District, and they go to Judson. So even in the subdivision, you're passing different buses and different school districts because of the way it's set up.
Yeah. Good old San Antonio school district setup.
Oh
man.
yeah.
So not to make you feel any younger than you already are, Milton, but you got into broadcasting right about the time that I was getting out of high school. So I appreciate.
What'd you say? Say boy.
But I will also say though, that Judson Roosevelt rivalry, which is legendary, at least on our side of town. That has led to some really great friendships also, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Your counterpart, your announcing partner at all of the Judson games, who coincidentally, you're not going to be able to do that with this next year for legal contractual reasons and whatnot, was Tom Walker, coach that we have on the show here every now and then. He's a Judson grad. You and I are both Roosevelt grads. Tom and I went to school roughly about the same time and actually knew like a ton of the same people.
Sure.
So that rivalry, as bitter as it's been, it's also been really, really fun. And I think that's kind of the nice thing about some of these sports rivalries is that they can be pretty competitive, pretty serious, but there's a lot of good friendships that come out of it also, right?
Oh, definitely.
Well, a lot of these kids also have been playing together during the summer and during the breaks, and the Steel players and the Judson players know each other. East Central players and Judson players know each other. So it's just like Clemens players, they all know each other. And then Roosevelt, kind of back and forth with Judson. I remember back when we played, it was Carlisle Holiday was the quarterback at Roosevelt, and he went on to be at Notre Dame. And they came in and just I don't think they ran the ball maybe 3 times. They just threw against the Judson defense, and they manhandled us and knocked us out of the playoffs first round. And Judson fans were visiting and celebrating with Roosevelt fans because they all know each other. Yeah.
Yeah. So you had mentioned earlier about, the teams kind of south of the Alamo Dome, and that was a good segue that I completely missed. But let's talk about the Alamo Dome, more specifically the team that occupies the Alamo Dome, which would be our UTSA Roadrunners. What's going on with the Roadrunners this year? How are they looking? What can we expect from this year's team, rather?
I think we're looking for some good things. Now, like Coach Traylor says, don't eat the cheese. Don't get ahead of yourself, one game at a time. And he's really been big on that and has put that on the players themselves to where the players are even saying it. One of the players the other day was mentioning that he feels they could win the national championship, but we have to take it one game at a time. First one we got to do is Houston. So, the talk is out there about big things. When you're returning 19 out of 22 starters, basically, and one of your special teams players, the punter, coaching staff, the fans are on board with it after 2-3 seasons, 30 wins in 3 seasons. And not a lot of teams do that, especially when you're this young. You're only, 11 years old now, UTSA. So, 30 wins in 3 years. Now you're taking 5 other teams from Conference USA over to I guess, quote unquote, more powerful AAC, American Athletic Conference, to fill the void that they had. And now you're going to be playing some better teams over the course of the year. You'll be playing some of the teams you're already familiar with, like North Texas and stuff like that. But you're going to be playing Tulane, which is a national power. You're going to be playing South Florida, I believe it is, which is a Florida Atlantic, which has been good in the past. A non-conference game this year, Tennessee. I mean, Who would have thought a few years ago that UTSA would be playing Tennessee, but we're going to their place and we're going to beat them.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
So you mentioned, UTSA is moving to the new conference, the AAC. And I mean, moving new conferences, that's been a big topic, these last couple of weeks in college football. What do you think about all the realignments, all the conferences that are changing? I mean, you've got the ACC that's now the Atlantic Coast Conference is trying to pull Stanford and Cal from the Pacific Coast. You've got, all kinds of shuffling going around. Do you like this? Do you think it's good for college football, or what's your take on this?
So I would say, on a personal note, I'm heartbroken. When you're growing up, I'm 66 years old. Not afraid to say it. Look 24, but I'm 36 or 66.
Lucky dog.
But when you grow up with the Big Ten, when you grow up with the Big 12, when you grow up with the Pac-12, and you see these things, you expect them to be there forever, right? And so now it's all about money, and whether it's player contracts or NIL deals, or now the realignments where people are going for more money. It breaks my heart a little bit to see that happen, because the Big Ten is not what it was. The Big 12 is not what it was, and the Pac-4 is not what it was when I was growing up. Remember, it was the old Southwest Conference when I was growing up, and then it changed to the Big 12. But I get it. Everybody's chasing the money. I think what is not there anymore is you're not getting those constant rivalries, because everybody's switching around. Well, I want to move, but I want to keep you. I want to move conferences, but I want to keep you. But you can't keep all the games you want to keep. We're getting Texas A&M back. Not that I really care. Boomer Sooners, by the way. But you can only squeeze in so many games of those long-lasting rivalries. So I get it. Disappointed, but I get it. It's all about money now.
Yeah, and I mean, I was listening to the radio today, and they're talking about it. I think SEC, when UT and Oklahoma move into it, they're gonna be giving each school $100 million a year.
Wow.
To play, and that's insane. But like you said, I mean, the Big Ten, is going to be the Big 18.
Right.
The Big 12 or the Big 12 is going to be the big 14, 15
14,
now?
15, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, they're doing these realignments. They should be able to change their conference names, because it is a little crazy. Big 10 has 18 teams here.
I think if they're going to make those changes, I wish there was something like, okay, you can change, but you have to be there for 15 years. I'm just throwing out a number. You can't change 4 years down the line. You've got to be there for 15 years to get some fluidity with it, get something going. It's heartbreaking, but I get it.
And you've got UTSA, who they've kind of been getting better, so they've been conference jumping themselves every few years, but because they're getting better, so they're going to a better conference. They're not jumping because they can get more money. They're jumping for a better competition to improve the program.
Yeah, I mean, when you're in the WAC, and then you go to the Conference USA, and then now you're getting to the AAC, they are progressively getting better as a team, getting more notoriety, getting more of the limelight. So they're moving what I call the right reasons. The other people, Texas and Oklahoma and these other ones are moving. It's for the money. So it is what it is, and we'll just have to deal with it. And I'll follow my team wherever they go.
Yeah. It is just crazy how you look at the realignment maps now. Like, it used to be, by region, and all the, this conference was here, and, kind of all the teams played themselves. Now it's just crazy. It's all over the map.
Could you imagine the NFL trying to do this?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But has that put a seed in somebody's head for a year or 2 or 3 down the line? Hey, Commissioner Goodell, what do you think about making 3 teams from the AFC West go to the NFC Central, and half the NFC East goes to the NFC West? Somebody up there is already thinking about that.
Yeah.
Let's mix things up.
At, Cowboys fan, the NFC East, Washington, Philly, New York, Giants, they all kind of make sense over there.
Right.
Dallas is the outlier because it's just kind of in the center of the country. So
No, they're an outlier in many more ways than that.
oh, that's true.
Boom!
Boom! Shots fired.
Boom! So, being that we're talking about all these realignments and stuff like that, one thing that has really kind of struck me in the college world, anyways, is the Colorado Buffaloes and former Cowboys great, Mr. Deion Sanders. How do you feel about what he's done so far with that program and the upcoming move to the Big 12 and everything?
I hope he fails miserably.
Wow.
Sorry to sugarcoat that.
Look, hey, don't what? Yeah, just tell us how you feel. You don't have to hide. Just let us know.
Yeah, I'm kind of shy when it comes to that, but
Colorado, no big deal.
Colorado, I kind of feel bad for them because I potentially see him treating Colorado like he did this Jacksonville State that he came from. I'm here to turn this program around. I'm here to build men. I'm here to do this, and makes it sound like he's going to be there forever. And that's just, and then boom, he jumps ship and he brings his own suitcases with him, so to speak. For a coach, for me personally, for a coach to come into a team meeting with existing players sitting there in front of you, all grown young men, not knowing where their next step in life is going to be, for a head coach to come in the door and say, you know what? You need to get in the portal because I'm bringing my own luggage and it doesn't include you. And that has just a slap in the face to all those young men who have worked all their life. A lot of them have been Colorado fans, growing up, and they've always wanted to play with Colorado. And then here comes this stranger say, bye, get out of here. I don't want you. Ugh. But, he can turn a program around. He can instill his leadership. He can instill his work ethic. I've seen a lot of video because they always have a camera with them. I've seen a lot of his videos and following him around. And we're all wearing short socks today. Why are you wearing tall socks? That's not a team, And he called the player out, told him to go to the locker room and change socks because we're all in short socks today. You're the only one out here with tall socks. Get out of here. Go do what you got to do. So, it's kind of like that drill instructor mentality, but I'm not a Deion fan, never was, never will be. But he's got that notoriety that will carry him wherever he needs to go. Unless he fails here, and then some people may have to take a hard look at it.
And that could potentially be also, if he's using Colorado as a springboard to move on to something bigger and better, there's a lot riding on his success here. And if he fails, then he'll probably wind up being at like Southwest Texas or something, which would be fine because who cares about them?
He's trying to realign himself like the conferences are, and he's chasing the money and chasing the notoriety. And First stop was Jacksonville State. Next stop is Colorado. He'll hopefully, for him anyway, he'll win there for a few years, get better at coaching, and then somebody else will come knocking on the door. But I wish Colorado well, and good luck.
Nice. So I also noticed as we're talking here, you happen to be wearing a certain team's jersey, and you happen to have a throw blanket behind you.
I'm sorry.
Who is that, sir? What team are you representing?
This would be the world champion Kansas City Chiefs. I got a throw blanket here. Maybe next time I do this, I'll do it from my sports room. We'll get more viewers.
Yeah,
there's a whole ton of stuff in there. But Kansas City Chiefs have been my team since 1969. Much like Tom Walker and other Cowboy fans, I've seen the highs, I've seen the lows. Right now, I'm riding that high wave again. So, Kansas City Chiefs all the way, man.
So how does a Roosevelt Rough Rider go to root for the Chiefs?
Yeah, interesting story. So I'm a military brat. I'm a mutt. My dad was in the Army, and we were stationed here at Fort Sam Houston 3 times. We were stationed at Fort Riley, Kansas 2 times. When I was an influential first and second grader in Manhattan, Kansas, home of the Kansas State Wildcats, one of the worst football teams for a long time, but now they've gotten better. But I thought because I was in Kansas, I was supposed to root for the Kansas City Chiefs. not knowing they were in Missouri because I was in the first grade. So this goes all the way back to 1967, the Lynn Dawson, Otis Taylor days. Hopefully Otis makes the Hall of Fame. But it goes way back to 1967, and I've probably lived in Texas, or San Antonio, I should say, for 40 plus years other than my military career, and I've never let go of them. And I go up there once or twice a year for a game. I'm going to start a GoFundMe page because all these world championships are costing me money with all the souvenirs I'm having to buy.
That's a rough life. Oh,
yeah, it is.
Tell you, as a Cowboys fan, I wish I had, that struggle of, oh no, I can't afford I can't, I need to be able to buy world champion gear.
Oh no, another championship hat.
Yeah. Oh geez, where am I going to put this one?
Yeah. But don't forget, it's your year.
It's our year. It is our year. All right.
Right.
It's our year.
Milton, if it makes you feel any better, my family moved down here from Wisconsin in 1979. When I really started getting into football, it was 82. Became a Packers fan because that was home, and I thought at some point I was going to be going back. But this is an 82, and you remember how
born.
I know. That's probably why the Packers were so bad. But you remember how bad the Packers were in the early 80s, and I still was addicted to them. So I get the fan connection there.
I have over 150 Chiefs hats. None of them duplicates. This is what I collect. I collect hats. My golf bag is Chiefs. My head covers are Chiefs. People ask me how addicted am I to the Chiefs. I tell them, look over at my car on the air nozzle covers. Those are Kansas City Chiefs air valve covers as well. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Now that's dedication.
It is.
Right. That's right.
I once had a toilet seat for the Kansas City Chiefs when they were really bad. But
and I probably would have gotten a Cowboys toilet seat because
I'd go for the Eagles or Giants or Washington for that.
Right. Okay. So we've covered a lot about you and a lot about local and your NFL teams. What are you expecting to see this year from the NFL with all the craziness and especially it seems like the running back position potentially is kind of getting phased out in the NFL? Like, what are your thoughts about what to expect for this year's season?
There's a lot of parity up at the top at like the first 5 teams. Neither one of your teams is in the top 5, by the way. But there's a lot of parity.
All right, it's our year.
Like the first 5 teams. Chiefs, Eagles, Bengals, Buffalo, and then you can throw in 3 or 4 other teams in that 5th spot. But it's going to be. I think it's going to come down to injuries. Who can stay healthy? We've already seen Joe Burrow get hurt with that pulled quad on a non-contact injury in practice. He just scrambled out to the right. Next thing you know, he's on a cart being taken in. He's going to be out for several weeks. Also, the holdouts. For instance, Kansas City, Chris Jones is holding out. He wants $30 million to play. You got people arguing on both sides. He's going for what he thinks he deserves. Then you got the other side saying, "But we don't have the money." So they're gonna come into a happy medium someplace. As far as the running back position goes, man, I don't know what in the world is happening out there because Dalvin Cook is still out there.
Yep.
Josh Jacobs, they're thinking about letting him go out in Las Vegas.
Yep.
So there's just a whole bunch of what was the guy, the Ewok from the Cowboys?
Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah, that's the guy. Yeah.
The guy that got thrown in the trash can.
He hasn't picked up. Now, honestly, I don't like the Cowboys. I used to respect them back in the Tom Landry, Tex Schramm days, stuff like that. Once they made that change, I was like, But I'm just really surprised that Elliott has not been picked up by anybody. And it's just, and you always hear Jerry Jones say, well, he's not out of the equation with us. And, he's still, no, he's not. Jerry, shut up. He's not there. But for Ezekiel Elliott not to be on a team right now, totally shocking.
Well, and you've got, Kareem Hunt, who he went to visit New Orleans today. And right before, I guess he went to go meet with the Saints, Indy called him and said, hey, we'll give you a lot more money. Come see us.
Yeah.
And I mean, so he's going to Indy tomorrow, which if you're the Saints, why do you let that guy, if you know that's a possibility, why do you let him leave the building without a massive contract if you're really wanting him?
A lot of people went on visits early in the off season, and walked in for visits and then walked out without any contracts. And
You used to not see that.
yeah,
they go in for a visit, they're
Mhm.
walking out with the contract. They've got
Tho-
something in hand.
those guys in the front office were like car dealers. They're not letting you out the door until they
Yeah.
put you in a car. We're not letting you out of here until you sign this contract. Now with Kareem Hunt, a former Kansas City Chief till he did something stupid, went up to Cleveland. But I think what hurt him was they were splitting the carries with him and the other running back. So he wasn't the featured back. So this may be, if he becomes a featured back, this may really help him. He's a good pass catcher out of the backfield, pretty good blocker, and he can obviously run.
So I'm a diehard Packers fan. There's no question about that. But I've got to get your take on the Aaron Rodgers New York Jets situation. What are you expecting to see from that side of the equation there?
That was an interesting deal that happened because, again, it's almost like the college realignment. You just expect players to stay with their teams forever. And for him to change to a different shade of green, so to speak, like some people have said, for him to go to the Jets, not a big surprise because he's a cold weather guy. So going to the Jets was okay. But they're trying to load up for him, and he's trying to get in sync. I was watching an interview the other day where he's trying to get in sync with his wide receivers on how he likes to throw the ball and how the routes are run. But Green Bay, I think, is going to struggle. New York could improve, but I saw the most ridiculous headline the other day from some national talking head that says the Jets have overtaken the Chiefs. And I just absolutely lost it. Yeah, Chiefs fans were all over that one. Greg Carton, I think he with the NFL Network or somebody, but he says the Jets have overtaken the Chiefs. I'm like, you just keep,
they've
keep
always
thinking
gotta
that.
they got to have their big, hot take and
Oh,
just
sure.
make the headlines.
Yeah.
I heard it yesterday coming home. One of the ESPN guys said that he thinks that Micah Parsons is going to win MVP.
Yeah, saw that. Yeah.
No. I mean, don't jinx the Cowboys. Come on now. But,
Well, just looking at the Chiefs from my perspective, 6 years ago, the Chiefs traded up 13 spots, and everybody was like, "You've got Alex Smith. Why do you need a quarterback?" Because they took Mahomes. Why do you need a quarterback? What are you doing? He has no footwork. He'll never work out. They're going to fail. Boom. 2 championships in 4 years and 3 appearances in the Super Bowl, losing to the GOAT, Tom Brady. Mm-hmm. But and then, oh my goodness, Tyreek Hill's gone. The Chiefs are going to be dead last. They're not even going to make the playoffs. Oh, we went and won the Super Bowl. So, you expect to see a lot of people stay with the team for a really long time. If Rodgers can get on the same page with his players, with his receivers and his coaching staff, the kind of angst he's had with his coaches in the past, Jason. Mm-hmm. And, if he gets mad at them, it doesn't work out. If his receivers aren't running the routes because he knows where the ball's going, they have to know as well. But if you start seeing him roll his eyes or lower his head, some of those unspoken gestures that Aaron always does when he's upset, he may have to go back to a heavy dose of ayahuasca.
Truth. Well,
so Jay, Milton, have any of y'all watched? Well, I guess yesterday was the first episode, but Hard Knocks with the Jets, or do you have any desire to?
It's not on the radar for me personally, so I haven't seen it. No.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. I mean, I would be lying if I said that I didn't want to see Aaron Rodgers at least do well, right? I mean, he's given us years and years and years, and the Packers really have kind of done him wrong in a couple of those years by not getting him weapons that he needed. Yeah. Trying to bargain basement it and make it work. With a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, we all know that you can take a good receiver and make him a legend, right?
Look at Peyton Manning. Look how many receivers Peyton Manning made.
Yeah.
No name receivers. And then Mahomes did the same thing. Chiefs don't have any weapons on the outside. They got Kelsey, but that's about it. But he's not a wide receiver. But Peyton Manning did it. He made a household name of a lot of wide receivers out there.
Exactly. So, again, I want to see him do well, but I'm not going to invest the time to watch any specials about him or anything like that. I'm sorry. I'm just
Jason would have to have a little thing of napkins saying, "This is my quarterback. This is my quarterback."
We currently have no quarterback, but I do have hopes for, Alex Magoo? So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, you got, if Love can get on track, y'all could win a game or two.
We've got a double dose of Love in Green Bay, and I still don't think it's going to be enough to get it done.
Not enough love, man.
It's going to be a long year for the Packer fans.
Yep. And that's okay, because we have alternatives to the NFL. So, well, I shouldn't say alternatives to the NFL, but the NFL will get me by until we can get to some of these other things, right? So, again, we're Texans talking football. We talk about everything football here in the state. So, I think it's a good transition now to talk about the IFL this weekend. We had our final IFL game. Let me bring up my website. Trying to find the Indoor Football League.
Is the IFL the one where they had the fight the other day?
Yes, the one that went into the stands.
The player, yeah. That's the IFL? Okay.
Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to look at the final game. I believe it was Sioux Falls. Wait, was it Sioux Falls that won?
Yeah, Sioux Falls versus Bay Area. Bay Area.
Oh, Bay Area. Yeah.
Did you watch the game, Jay?
I got to watch a little bit of it, but unfortunately, this is a very soccer-heavy weekend this weekend, so I didn't get to watch very much of it at all.
So I didn't watch it. I didn't get to watch it. The reason I didn't get to watch it is because every other game in the IFL season was on YouTube. I was watching them on YouTube, stuff like that. I went on YouTube at 3:00 when it was supposed to start, and it wasn't posted. It wasn't showing that it was going to play.
It wasn't.
No, it wasn't. So I was trying to look around, see where it was at. See, it was on like Fubu or something like that.
Interesting.
I'm like, how the hell do you go from having every single game on your one platform to just your championship game on a whole other one?
It's just like NBC. They'll put everything on NBC. Oh, this one's going to be on Peacock. Well, yeah. I don't have Peacock.
Yeah. And I was so I was trying to follow, but even the website wasn't updating during the game. So I didn't know what happened until, maybe 30 minutes after the game ended. So
yeah. And that's unfortunate. That's probably it sucks that they do last minute, or I don't even know if it's a last minute change, but just the fact that they changed the platform and there wasn't really any kind of announcement about it, I'm sure viewership really kind of suffered from that. But that being the case, I did think it was interesting that Bay Area wound up winning that game, considering in 2022 it looks like they were 1-15. So they had a miraculous turnaround.
Yep.
And if you go back and look at the regular season standings, Bay Area really, they were not really picked. I mean, they were picked to make it in the playoffs, but nobody really thought that they were going to go that deep, the way they were playing. And again, we talked about it, any given Sunday. In this situation, it's actually any given Saturday. But Bay Area was number 2 going into the playoffs. They were ranked second in the Western Division, and they stomped everybody. They stomped the number 1 rated Arizona Rattlers. They obviously took care of business this last weekend, and so now they are crowned the champions. And so congratulations to the Bay Area Panthers. It's not a Texas team. It's not the Frisco Fighters, but right, good for them.
Hey, you know what? Yeah, absolutely. So,
and the Rattlers are normally, I'm not into this brand of football as much as a lot of people are, but the Rattlers have always been a perennial powerhouse, no matter what league that they've been in. You always hear about the Rattlers being at the top of the game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's one thing that we've really talked about a lot on this show is kind of a lot of these teams' connections to the old AFL. when like Arizona was a powerhouse and Arizona was unstoppable. The Iowa Barnstormers, where what the heck is his name?
Oh, the St. Louis quarterback. Yeah.
The Cinderella story. Like those things are really kind of nice to kind of look back and reminisce on, to see, how some of these players have actually risen up. The one thing that we really do like about the IFL, besides the production value and everything, and really you'd have to watch them to make your own decision between the IFL and the NAL, and maybe some of the other leagues that are out there that we don't talk about. But the IFL players get a chance. Oh, did we lose Milton? He'll be coming back here in just a second.
There we go.
There you go.
There you are.
His AOL had to reboot. Just kidding. The IFL players get opportunities to play for opportunities in the XFL, right? They have a direct pipeline to push players into the XFL and then maybe potentially into the NFL, right? So we're really super excited to see some of these players as they progress in their careers and see what kind of opportunities are going to be presented for them in the XFL. Maybe, some of them transition over to the USFL also. But of course, we're hometown homers here. We have an XFL team. Absolutely love the San Antonio Brahmas. The XFL, the numbers speak for themselves. We've talked about that before. But as of yesterday, we've got 38 or 39, if I remember correctly, players that are on active NFL rosters right now. Now, that's the 90-man roster. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to get a start. But that's not, 38 to 39 players that have a chance to fulfill that dream from this last year alone. One of the guys that Milton, you can probably appreciate this, but one of the guys that we're definitely rooting for is our hometown hero, John Parker Romo. He was the kicker for the San Antonio Brahmas. He's the one who missed that last kick in the game against DC that could have led us into the playoffs that weekend. Right. It was unfortunate that he missed the kick. He got frozen. I mean, that's what you do when you're an opposing coach, and you're going to lose otherwise. So it definitely, wasn't really on him. But he has an opportunity to be. Right now, they've got him listed on the roster as the second string kicker for Detroit. It's unfortunate that he's playing for Detroit. But this could be an opportunity for him to launch his career when people see how good he is.
Well, yeah, and it's one of those things too where, I was telling you earlier, Jason, that a lot of these names that are moving through the XFL and the USFL, the Spring League, which is also a platform into the NFL, had I think like 8 games here in the Alamo Dome during COVID. They didn't advertise or anything, so we only had like 2 or 3 fans there, but they wanted to run it like a whole game. So I was a PA announcer announcing to nobody. They had the chain crews, they had the broadcast and stuff like that. But some of these players have gone on to make it into NFL teams or get into the XFL, get into USFL. But you were talking about being listed as a second string kicker. The Cowboys just cut their kickers down to 1 now.
They had 3, but now they got 1.
And Aubrey, I think, is his last name. They're going to give him a try. Yeah. It's just so hard. You see all these avenues into the NFL. You got the XFL, the USFL, the Spring League, trying to get into the NFL. And there's only so much room. And you have got to stand out in some form or fashion. As a kicker, that's pretty easy. You just need to make kicks. Yep. But it is such a fine line. One time when I was doing I was announcing the Spurs G League team up in Austin, and I did that for 1 year before I picked up the UTSA gig. But I was announcing for the G League team, and to see the difference between the G League players and the NBA players is so minute. But even though it's so minute, they never make it because they just don't have anything different that they can offer. It's crazy.
Yeah. I would say, and you've seen this, up front and personal yourself in something like, the NBA, it really almost comes down to like what your morning routine is, right? Because that could be the difference to keep you from being, a starter or a bench warmer in the NBA, or even winding up on a G League and not making it. Whereas in the NFL, I mean, you've got a pretty big talent gap there. Like you have to be the absolute best.
Yeah.
And you're playing for, one of 52 spots on one of 32 teams. It's not really a whole lot.
Yeah, only three players can fill that spot. You got a first string, second string, and most positions will have a third stringer or somebody who can do dual duty. But the only other thing that people can hope for is like in the NBA, if you're in the G League or something, somebody gets injured, and you've proven yourself that you can move up into that spot, get yourself a 10-day contract, and then maybe that 10-day contract doesn't lead you to that team because he's recuperated, but other teams are watching and they're like, "Hey, do you see what XYZ did for the Spurs on his 10-day contract? Let's look at him."
Yes.
You never hope that somebody gets injured, but that's really one of the only other doors that can open for somebody to take a step forward.
Yep. So speaking of taking a step forward, unfortunately, the San Antonio Gunslingers did not take a step forward this weekend and wound up losing to what was that? The Carolina Cobras again, like we had talked about, what we were afraid of.
It was pretty close, wasn't it?
52 to 36.
Oh, okay, that's not close. Yeah.
That's not close. Now, I will say, Carolina came from out of nowhere. San Antonio pretty much held the league at bay. Granted, they never won their games by a whole bunch. I wouldn't say more than 10-point spread, but they held the league at bay for up until week 14, week 15.
Yeah, it was all but probably the last 4 weeks of the season.
Yeah.
And
unfortunately, two of those games came against Carolina. Yeah. Carolina came from out of nowhere and just charged up the ranks the second half of the season and put a beating on San Antonio every time they played them. And so San Antonio played the weekend before, they played Carolina at home, and it was an ugly, ugly game. And so then going into the playoffs, San Antonio had to play Carolina again. And it was not, because it was, again, you have 1-4 versus 2-3. And San Antonio was 3, Carolina was 2. And they just handled the Gunslingers, and it was not pretty at all, man.
It wasn't. It was, this game I got to watch because the NAL actually kept their games on YouTube like before, so I watched the whole thing, and it was just an ugly game. This was Nelson's first game back. I know he had taken the last 2 off. We questioned whether he was hurt. We think that was probably him to to kind of get healthy, get rested for the playoffs. First series he was just off. Missed throws, short, overthrow, and it didn't look good. Kind of second series he came back out. He started looking a little better. He kind of hitting his throws. He was leading his receivers properly, and so it looked like kind of that first series he just knocked the rust off. And really, Gunslingers were kind of in the game for the first half. Defense wasn't stopping the Cobras, but they get the ball back, they go to score. I think what hurt the Gunslingers the most in that first half was the decision to go for onside kicks. I don't get it. The first one, okay, hey, you're trying to catch them off guard, cool. They didn't work. They get the ball like the 15, 20-yard line, go in, they scored. Gunslingers come back, they score again, try to onside kick again. Well, now they got it at the 12, 14-yard line.
Yeah.
And so you're just giving the Cobras opportunities. You're not even setting your defense up for success at that point. So I think that was the biggest mistake in the game, just doing that. And then they did come out of the halftime, and Cobras ended up getting the ball on the 2-yard line. So of course they scored. So I think that was just the momentum killer. And really, I think was one of the biggest reasons that the Gunslingers lost.
Yeah. So looking at the box score, San Antonio led the first quarter 8-5, right? So, obviously you have some hope there. But then that second quarter, San Antonio only scored 14. Meanwhile, Carolina scored 21, right? So you lose the lead there in the second half. After that, it gets ugly. Third quarter, San Antonio gets 7, Carolina gets 16. And then the fourth quarter, San Antonio again only gets 7, Carolina gets 10. And then they just walked away with it that second half.
And again, at that time, San Antonio was kind of in desperation mode the last, that fourth quarter, the last half of the fourth quarter. And so, yeah, it was ugly that second half. And I'm not a person to blame, officials on losses. But and I'm not going to blame on saying that they lost, the Gunslingers lost because of the officials, because they made a lot of stupid mistakes. But I'm not speaking in hyperbole either. This is one of the worst officiated games I've ever seen. Like, I mean, seriously, it was there. They missed blatant pass interferences. Cobra's just straight up grabbing the receivers, and the officials right there, and just nothing. One of there was a call for a fumble on a kickoff return, and they went to go review the play. Announcers say, hey, NAL rules, if there's a fumble on a kickoff, the ball hits the wall, it's a dead ball, receiving team gets it. Well, the replay showed that the ball hit the wall twice, and the rest came back and said play stands.
Yeah.
So, and then it was just stupid mistake, just horrible officiating.
Shocking.
And at the end, it was obviously the Gunslingers were getting frustrated. They got a couple penalties for being pissed off at the refs, which, I mean, they were rightfully so. The coach got tossed out of the game after one of the the non-call pass interferences where the receiver he just got straight up grabbed. And then I think the next play, one of the linemen got tossed out of the game for something after the play. They just, they were pissed. They were done. They were probably just ready to get it over with. So,
yeah. So on the other side of the coin, you had Predators and the Sharks, and we called this one. I mean, it was obvious, right?
Oh yeah.
Orlando, an old school AFL team, they got trounced 18-62 by Jacksonville Sharks, another AFL team. So you can see that, some of those old powerhouses are definitely they've taken over the NAL. So next weekend, we should have the playoffs, or we should have the championship game rather, and it's going to be the Cobras at the Sharks, I believe. And so for arena ball, that should be a pretty good game. I'm hopeful that they actually bring in, some of the VHS camcorders to cover this game and not the old Betamax that they're using. But yeah, I mean, it should be a pretty solid game. There are some.
Well, maybe they can borrow the IFL cameras since they don't need them next week.
Yeah. Again, Milton, you would have to watch the video quality to see what we're talking about, the announcing, just everything about the games we're biased, but we like the IFL production much better. Yeah. That's not to say anything that, the league is bad or anything. It just seems like there's more quality and more care put into the presentation of the product.
Well, hopefully by the time next week rolls around, we'll have worked with Jason on his proper score delivery of a score. I've never heard a score 18-62.
Yeah,
62-18.
No, sir. I'm bringing the emphasis to the score. How bad it was. 18. I think you get 18 just for showing up. It's horrible. But talking about the NAL, there's some big news, right? We've already talked about how Antonio Brown has put the Midas touch on the NAL, and we lost the Albany Empire, which was his team. And then a couple of weeks later, Fayetteville Mustangs did fold up because of financial reasons. And so they were down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams. And then we found out that West Texas Warbirds and I believe it's Orlando are going to be going to the new AFL, right? So that left us with 3 teams. Well, we're getting another team in. So that's actually going to be Sioux City coming from the CIF League, which that's going to be interesting, kind of interjecting new life and new blood into the NAL, because we were pretty sure that was going to be it for the NAL. So
it really did. It looked like it, I figured the the 3 teams would maybe get absorbed to the IFL or something like that,
Mhm.
But it looks like NAL's trying to retool. So
yeah, and I'm not opposed to this idea, but I kind of would have liked to have seen, because IFL is going to be losing some teams also, right, Milton? But what we're talking about there is they're losing 2 teams out of a league that has 16, right? So you can replace 2 teams pretty quickly,
right?
Especially with indoor football. I mean, there's at least 4 different indoor leagues that I can think of.
Right.
And so you can pick other leagues apart, and they can find other teams, and it's not going to be that hard. I mean, it's indoor football. There's going to be plenty of players that haven't even made an XFL or a USFL roster. And so there's players, there's people that still want to keep, the football dream alive. So you can make a team and you can keep things going. But I'm just kind of surprised that the NAL, it's like, that last little bit of life support, almost, it feels like to me, that they're trying to keep this league going and viable with some kind of shaky teams. But we'll see what happens. In the meantime, we definitely do wish the West Texas Warbirds well in their transition over to the IFL and the Orlando Predators, right? There's still a lot of speculation around the AFL too, right? The AFL has announced all the cities, but no announcement about where they're playing, about any team names, about any of that stuff. And I'm kind of doubting, if you will, that the AFL is actually going to take off like they said it's going to. Now, Milton, I don't know if you've seen any of the announcements on Facebook or anything like that, or any other social media platforms, but there is a big push, or there was, by the AFL about, hey, we're back, and this is the league, and
a little bit,
the AFL of old, and it's going to be awesome, and come join us. But where are we joining you? Like, what's going on with that? So we'll see what happens. Right?
Well, like you said, there's a lot of teams out there that could fill the void. Houston Texans are one of those teams that could just kind of slide in.
Are they good enough to be in Arena League though?
Oh, you got to start somewhere.
That's true. But again, so NAL has a game this weekend. IFL is officially done now for the season, and we're going to start seeing some of these players, especially as we're moving into NFL territory and stuff like that. We're going to start seeing some of the XFL drafts and stuff coming up, and some more of the supplemental training camps and things like that. The IFL players, I've already had one training camp, exclusively for them to show off some of their talents for the XFL. So some of these players that maybe we're on a roster on an IFL team last year could be on an XFL roster, this next season, potentially moving their way up the chain, right? We could be seeing the next Patrick Mahomes, if you will, kind of coming through the ranks. But it will be something to definitely keep an eye on as, kind of all the chips start falling from, the IFL and the CIF league that we don't really follow. And the reason why we don't follow them is because they don't have a Texas team. And so we really try and focus on Texas stuff, unless it's the NFL, because there's no Texas teams in the NFL.
I've noticed that.
But that should pretty much be it. So that being the case, Milton, what are your expectations for the Kansas City Chiefs that are not actually in the state of Kansas? What are the expectations for this next year?
Well, the expectations, of course, is another Super Bowl. Reality is everybody's going to bring their A game, just like they do to every Super Bowl champion. They are going to play the Eagles at Kansas City during the regular season this year. They've got Cincinnati also at Arrowhead, so that'll be big. I was looking at the schedule recently. There could be the AFC West. You never know what's going to happen with the Chargers. Chargers have Kansas City's number, and Oakland or Vegas plays them very close and can beat them. So I could potentially see us losing to the Chargers at least once.
Chargers now have Kellen Moore calling plays for them. So, that looks good for Kansas
Okay,
City.
I just flipped my mind on that. Chargers aren't going to beat us. Thank you for reminding me of that. But they could lose to the Chargers. They could slip up, and they lost. They beat Oakland, the Raiders, last year. I went to the game at Arrowhead, and it took a last minute field goal for us to beat the Raiders, 29-28. So those AFC West, Denver's coming on as well, supposedly. Let's ride. I don't ever try to set an expectation other than, I'd love to win a Super Bowl again and go broke buying more souvenirs. But, I'm hoping for another good year. Yeah, I know. You guys must be rolling in dough. Y'all haven't bought anything for years.
Yeah.
I'm over here going broke. But
I'm putting it all away. Every year I just put a little something else away for when it finally is our year, which is going to be this year. By the way, it's our year.
Right now, I've got
a nice little nest egg. I can get some stuff.
Well,
it's all on sale every time I go in the stores.
Yeah, and I did buy some Packers, Super Bowl champion stuff back in 2011. Yeah. But
I could see us getting 3 or 4 losses this year if we're not careful, and it all depends on Mahomes staying healthy and the defense. They've really got to. I'm tired of this bend but don't break defense, but that's what Kansas City has had for years. We'll let you get all the way down to the goal line, and then we'll decide to stop you. It's just, like I said, I'm 24, but I look 66 because of all these gray hairs. Yeah. But no, I look forward to good things. Yeah.
Okay. And then Brian, of course, this is your year, right?
It's our year.
It's your year.
For real. The defense. Cowboys defense is solid. They are one of the best defenses in the league. If our offense had a really good quarterback, then we could actually do something. So,
did you see this week's highlights where Dak Prescott threw an interception in training camp?
Yeah. Mister, I'm gonna throw less than 10 interceptions all season. Is just throwing them like crazy in training camp. Yeah. I think he's just letting the defensive backs get used to catching the ball. I think that's what it is. He's trying to help the defense, get used to getting interceptions against the other team.
Just keep
a few opportunities.
You just keep believing that.
Yeah, exactly.
You just think that.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be realistic here. Green Bay has a pretty solid defense. They're going to keep us in whatever games we manage to be involved in. And our offense is either going to be okay or it's going to be an absolute dumpster fire. I'm pretty much sure it's going to be a dumpster fire. So, and that's fine. That's fine, right? We've had 20-something years of relativity, right? We've been in every conversation just about. And as much as I would love for us to keep that tradition going, we can't be towards the top forever. We're going to have to experience some down years. So I'm ready for the next 6-7 years of being horrible and being irrelevant and trying to rebuild and finding, whatever spark might be there again in 5 or 6 years and seeing what happens at that point.
And Jordan Love will probably, get put under the fire early in the season when he starts making mistakes, and they'll be asking for his head and stuff. And Jordan's going to turn to the crowd and say, "Relax, RELAKS, relax."
Love it.
Relax. But that young man's in for a lot of trouble. If he doesn't perform quickly, they're going to be asking for his head. The coaches are going to have to react, and we're going to have to check in on Jason every once in a while to make sure he's okay.
Yeah, I've got my suicide watch team ready to go, so I'll be fine. Switching over to the USFL real quick, there's a big announcement that we need to talk about. They have a set of trading cards for their players this year.
Huh.
Oh wow, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Does it come with bubblegum?
I have no idea. It's not even good enough to talk about the bubblegum, apparently. But they have had 5 free agents sign with the NFL. Yeah. So there is some relevancy there. Yeah. Maybe not what we'd like to, we'd like to see, but there is some relevancy there. So again, we beat up on the USFL, and we talk a lot of smack about them and everything like that, but it is a viable product, right?
Yeah.
I don't like how quickly the season ends in relation to training camps and stuff like that for the NFL, because you don't get a lot of time to heal up, if any. But they are producing some quality players, and we are starting to see some of that, kind of translate into the NFL world. I just think the XFL has a better model and, better opportunities as we've seen them, and the numbers don't lie. Yeah. So we'll see kind of how that
definitely
develops.
A better time frame.
Well, I'm hoping the USFL does something different with their games this coming year, where they actually have crowds, because having 200 or 300 people in the grandstands playing in a neutral city, I understood what they were doing, kind of like what the Brahmas are doing. They practice up in Arlington, is it?
Yeah.
But they play there here. They kind of got to get your feet wet and kind of move into the solidifying yourself here. But it was just rough to watch some of those games, and there was 200 or 300 people there, and then the talent wasn't very good either. So, but some of them were kind of rough. But hopefully they do something different next year.
Yeah, well, and we'll see. I mean, obviously we're going to keep an eye on it, because you've got that kind of conflict brewing between the USFL and the XFL in Houston, with the USFL Houston Gamblers and the XFL Houston Roughnecks, or as we like to call them, the Rubbernecks. Who's going to win out, right? Yeah. Like, who's going to get the fan base, and what team is going to have to move to another city, because there's no way they can support two.
Who has the better marketing and who has the better record? That's going to determine who stays in that town.
Yep. So, Milton, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on the show.
A lot of fun. Yeah.
Now is the time for you to shamelessly plug yourself. How can people follow you on social media? What are your Twitter handles? All that stuff. Tell them about your MySpace page, all that good stuff.
Well, I have an AOL account, so certainly I'm on Facebook. It's right there on the screen. That's my name. Just look me up. You'll see a Kansas City Chiefs logo on there. That's pretty much all I'm on. I don't do that Twitter or X, as they call it now. But you can find me mhope1313 at yahoo.com at a racetrack that I announce at up in Bastrop. I send that out every race to see who's watching, and we get emails from around the country, and we even had some from overseas. So, feel free to reach out to me. UTSA, I'll be out there at the football games. I do football, men's and women's basketball, women's softball. It's a lot of fun. So, so just look me up if you need to. If you need to get a hold of Jason. Jason knows how to get a hold of me.
Yep.
So, certainly it's been a lot of fun to be here tonight. I love talking sports, love football for the most part. But I'm getting ready to get busy, because in 2 weeks, I've got a Wednesday night freshman game, a Thursday night varsity game, a Friday night varsity game, and then up to Bastrop for racing on Saturday night. So it really kicks into gear where I'm going to be busy 2 to 3 nights a week, sometimes 4 nights a week. And so that's why people who do follow me on Facebook, because I do softball ends the second weekend of May. From the second weekend of May until the last Thursday of August is when I can do my traveling across the country and go play golf in all these different states. And then as soon as August hits, then it's football, rolls into basketball, rolls into baseball and softball. So.
Well, I hope you've been resting your voice these last few months, because it sounds like it's going to get used a lot.
The crowd at UTSA is very generous to me, and when I ask them to do something, they respond. And so I've been watching my voice. I've been drinking a lot of water here recently, and just trying to get pumped up and ready to do football in the Alamo Dome, because that's like a second home for me.
So I'm going to allow you to do a sign off that I've been hoping for. But what do you say to get the crowd pumped up at the UTSA games?
Oh, it's very simple. It's 2 letters. UTSA. There you go, baby, right there.
And with that, Milton, thank you again so much for joining us.
Have me back anytime, man. I'm here for you.
Thank you, Milton. Thank you.
Definitely. I want to bring that up. Guys, if you want updates on high school football and everything, make sure you're tuning in to Milton Hope's page. I'm sure he's going to be broadcasting live from historic Rutledge Stadium, where it's the home of the Judson Rockets and the Wagner Thunderbirds. And I don't know who his guest host is going to be, but I'm sure hopefully he'll have somebody great to back him up.
We'll see how that works this year.
Yeah. It won't be as good as Coach for right now, but Coach will be back eventually. Maybe we'll see what happens. But in the meantime, high school football updates, make sure you contact this guy because he is in the know. You want to know anything UTSA, make sure you're following him and make sure you show up for the games and support your UTSA Roadrunners.
Heck yeah.
That being the case, folks, we are out of here. Thank you so much for watching. And here comes our cool outro that Brian doesn't like at all. Here we go.
Thank you, everybody. Y'all have a good one.
I'll have to go back and